Hi, this is Tanya Sheridan with InAllSassiness.com, and today I am coming to you to teach you how to do the September and October pages of my Sassy Perpetual calendar. So I've already pulled out some of the pieces. Before we get started, I'm going to show you what you're going to need. If you want to pause the video, you're going to need your adhesive runner, your foam tape, both the thin and the thick, whichever, or thin and wide rather. You're going to need your foam dots. We're going to be using the Tombow liquid glue or whatever glue that you prefer. And then I'm going to accent the September page with the liquid pearls in the rose gold from Ranger. And that is truly what makes this entire layout pop. So let's get started. This is using the standard Perpetual calendar page. So the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to do those glitter strips at the bottom just to get those out of the way. And you can do it however you prefer. I actually opted to do the scarlet at the bottom, which is the darker red of the two. And then the desert rose is going to go directly above that. And I absolutely love this scarlet paper. I am a Buckeye through and through. And we have the scarlet cardstock, which is this one here, but it's not quite as bright red. And so the glitter paper is truly, to me, what I think of when I think of scarlet. So I'm going to flip it over. You can see I started from the edge, and I'm just going to cut those two tips off. And you can use those somewhere else if you want to. That's totally up to you. So then this one is a little bit different than all the other pages because I used the wood grain paper as a foundation at the top. I didn't cover any of the other pages. So I'm going to put my adhesive on this. This wood grain paper is gorgeous. It is available all year from Close to My Heart. It is in our core catalog. Now I am covering up that hole at the top. So what you will want to do is once you've layered your flowers, you're going to want to take a hole punch and then just punch that from the back side so that you can then hang it on your calendar. Okay, so now we have that done. You're going to match up, and you can mix and match however you want, but you're going to mix and match all of your leaves. So when you cut the leaf out, this is a thin cut, it's still available. It cuts out the vein and the leaf. And so what I did is I cut them out of different colors that I thought blended, some light sides, some dark sides, and then I mixed the veins up and put them back on. So this one is actually not going to go on first, but we are going to do the Desert Rose glitter paper with the scarlet vein, and that is where we are going to start. So I have just pressed the vein into the space. All of these are going to go flat, but you could do it on foam tape if you wanted to. It's just going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to put this one up towards the corner, and I know that I'm going to cut some of that off, so you can pull it up as far as you want it, but I want that tiny little corner to show. So I'm just going to put that down. Then we're going to come back with the the scarlet cardstock with the Desert Rose glitter vein. And when you put this down, if you have it lined up perfectly, when you take your tape runner over, it just kind of secures that vein right into that piece. If you're putting foam tape on it, I use the foam tape to hold the vein into place, and that works really well. So this one, I'm just gonna kind of cross over a little bit. Again, I want to see a little bit of that wood grain. I think that lets everything kind of shine out. So then the next one that we're going to do is going to be this one, and forgive me, I don't know my leaves, but it's going to be the espresso. It's going to be the one with the kind of the bubbly look, and it's got the red scarlet glitter vein inside. So you can see I'm just going over the whole thing with my adhesive runner. I'm going to slide this down a little bit. This one's kind of coming at a little bit of an angle. And again, I like that little bit of the paper being able to be seen. So then the next one we're going to do is going to be this one, which is the straight edged. It is the, Desert Rose glitter paper with the espresso vein. And I just lost my vein, but that's okay. We'll find it. We're going to tuck that vein back in there. And this is going to kind of come at a little bit of an angle going this way, just like that. Okay, so then we're going to use this one, which is the Scarlet Leaf with the Desert Rose vein, glitter vein. I think we all decided that this one was our favorite. Whoops, we liked that one the best. But again, we're Buckeyes, so, you know, we're allowed to have that opinion. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull this one up a little bit higher so we don't have as much as a gap. Just like that. And then the last and final one is going to be, I think this is a maple leaf, but I could be wrong. The espresso leaf with the scarlet cardstock vein. And you'll notice I'm not really paying attention to the stems at all because I know that I'm cutting those off. Get this turned around here. And if you like the way this looks, I did do a layout very similar to that. That is what inspired this layout, or this page. Okay, so we have all of those done. We're gonna flip it over. We're gonna take the scissors, and we're simply gonna cut off all of the excess. You just wanna be really careful when you do it that you don't pull the whole leaf off, but if you use glue or adhesive runner, it should be fine. A little piece off my scissors. And this gives you a really nice collage look, like you worked really hard and it was super, super easy, right? Okay, so now we have that done. We're gonna pull out our bag with our title. So this actually had several bags in it and they were separated on purpose. So we're gonna pull out the title. Now you'll notice that I left the letters for you. If you wanted to use them, you can use them. And you know what? I have the wrong titles. So we're going to do ours this way instead of this way. So we are going to just glue this down. Looks like somehow I got a reverse. Which actually be prettier than the original, I think. Okay. The funny thing is my daughter checked this right before we went live and said it had everything. Okay. So there is my letters. I'm glad I gave you guys these little letters. So I am going to glue back in the pieces from the letters. Looks like we lost a little light here. So here is my P, the inside of my P. I'm going to do that one first. So you might have this version or you might have this version. Either way, it looks nice and you can make it work. Push that across. Just like that, it fills it back in. Now the B, you're gonna have two pieces. So you're gonna have the top of the B, and if you're having a hard time with it, I like to use my piercing tool to slide it in, just like that. And I'm gonna scooch it over. My computer has to be on for that to turn back on. My light's powered by my computer. There we go. And there was light. Okay, so there's the B. We're gonna slide that little piece over a little bit. And then we have the R. Now, if you are putting yours together and you like this look and you received this look, then just shoot me an email and I will recut it for you and send it to you. If you received this one and want this look, then same thing applies. Just shoot me an email and I will send you the opposite one. So I don't need my little letters there. I am going to use my thick foam, or my wide thin foam tape, sorry. So it always comes in two widths. This is the wide and this is the narrow, but I'm using the thin. I know that gets confusing to people sometimes. I use the thin on almost everything. Very rarely do I use the regular, but that of course is a choice for you. Okay, so now I'm going to take off the film, and you can kind of play with it if you want it at an angle, or if you don't, if you want it straight, that's totally up to you. I think I want mine at a little bit of an angle, just like that. Okay, so now comes the super fun part. So I gave you a bag of sequins. These are the rose gold sequins. They are officially retired from Close to My Heart. However, they still are available. You just go to my website at, you can go to inallsassiness.com and it'll take you on a direct link, but at tanyasheridan.ctmh.com. And in the drop-down menu, you will see a section that says online only. And that is where you will find these. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and put my dots of glue where I want my sequins to be. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly the way I did it. You can do it however you want. It never hurts my feelings if you switch it up a little bit or a lot. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I think I'm going to do another one there. And then I'm going to pick through my sequins and pick the ones that I like the most. And I think I got 2 there, but it's too late to do anything about it, so we're all good. I really like in this one, that one right there. It's got more of a pinkish tone, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. So there's some different shadings. There's more of a matte finish. There's a very, very bright one. There's also some different sizes. So you use what works for you. That one, I think I got off unstable there. You don't have to use the ones that I use. You might have other ones that really speak to you. I personally am not using any of the really, really bright ones. I'm using the ones that have more of a matte finish because I think that that one works best. Here is one more of those. We're going to put that one up, whoops, up there. Okay, now I have them all into, whoops, one more I missed. So we're going to do, let's see, let's do this one up here because that's just really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to use my piercing tool and I'm just going to, there's that one that had 2. I'm going to tap down to make sure that they don't go anywhere, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my rose gold liquid pearls and I'm going to do a tiny dot in the center of each of those sequins. And it's going to kind of make a dollop, and that's okay. Once it dries, it'll kind of flatten down a little bit more. Okay, so I've done that. Then what I want to do is I want to put just tiny little dots kind of surrounding those sequins just to give it a different flair. Now, if you press down too hard with your tip, then instead of getting a dollop, you get kind of a squished look. So I just want to kind of drop it down, and then that's all I want to do, okay? So that is how you create the September page of the Sassy Perpetual calendar. So we're going to move this off to the side. Hopefully not lose my liquid pearls there. I'm going to slide that one aside. I'm going to move all these sequins because I don't want them in my Halloween one, right? Because those would look kind of silly. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in my October one. And the October one is super spooky. I think it's so cool. It uses the holographic paper and this black cat. And I have been just dying to use that black cat because we have a black cat in our house, and so we are totally in love with him. He wasn't supposed to stay. He was supposed to just stay through Halloween because we found him over the summer, and then when it was time to wean him off of his mother, it was coming close to Halloween, and we didn't want anything to happen to him. So he stayed. Rather skittish, but we call him our Black Panther. He's super cute. His name is Finn. He was named for Star Wars, go figure. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this one, again, is add that holographic strip. This is going to be your orange one, as well as your black glitter strip. Now, do make sure, especially if you're in bad lighting, and maybe you haven't worked step by step through all of these, that you don't mistake the black glitter for the evergreen, because in bad lighting, that could happen. And it looks kind of weird because I did that. Okay, so the black glitter goes down first, and then the sunbeam holographic strip. Again, we're gonna flip it, and we're gonna trim it just like we've done on all the other ones, or most of the other ones. And then the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and attach this spider web, and it's pretty crazy. It's very intricate. There's really nothing to hold it down except for the tiny corner of the cat's tail. So you just kind of have to be as careful as you can. You don't want it to tear. And I'm gonna have it come off, but be careful of this center dot, right? And you wanna make sure that it comes off where it makes logical sense, because you're gonna flip it and you're gonna trim off this extra part of the web. And this paper is very, very delicate. Now, I will also tell you, I think I've told you this before in this series, that the adhesive runner smears on this holographic as well as the foil paper. So just be really, really careful when you're putting that together. Okay, so we're going to eliminate some pieces here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to glue down our fence. So here you can see I am just trying to catch the tips. You could do the fence either way. Either side would work. You will notice that I used the wood grain paper, and I had the grain of the wood go with the grain of the fence, the way it would be. So it looks very realistic in my mind. Now, Mr. Black Cat, Mr. Finn, or whatever you're calling your black cat, he is going to be popped up, or she, with foam tape, because it really makes him pop. So we don't have to be very careful about his head, because his head's pretty, wide. I just love him. He has so much sass, if boys can have sass. Just the way the back is arched, the whole cat. He's just super cute. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my thin, narrow foam tape. I'm gonna hold it with my fingers and I'm gonna cut it in half. And that's gonna be narrow enough to come up his legs. If you are wider, then make sure you follow the right spot. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one more time. This one I think I'm gonna actually cut into thirds, because that one is a little bit narrower. I'm gonna come right down the center. I'm gonna do this last leg, and then we're gonna cut just tiny little pieces for the tail. Go just like that. Oops. I hope you guys have enjoyed this project. I had a lot of people ask me to design this calendar, and it was a much bigger undertaking than I ever expected. I know that's the story of my life. I always think, oh, that won't take me very long, and 6 hours later I'm still on the first page. But it was a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed hearing your stories, those who have already put theirs together, of how much they loved all the tiny, tiny pieces. Okay, so here's my cat. This one I am going to encourage you to go ahead and pull off all the film. Normally I say you don't have to, but because of how the legs are positioned, we don't want them to tear. He is very narrow on his tail. That would be horrible if he lost his tail. Okay, we have 2 more legs, and then I think we're done. Okay, so now we're gonna flip him, and I have him positioned so that you can still see the fence. You just kind of have to play with it to get him where you want him. And I want his tail to kind of overlap the spider web just a little bit. So just like that. Okay, so now we're gonna build our pumpkin. I'm gonna put that one over there. So the pumpkin is kind of a game, I will say. And we're gonna put this piece down first. This is the base. This is the gold foil. So it is also going to go on our pumpkin, and you will notice that with our pumpkin, I also used the wood grain paper so that the stem looked very authentic. Okay, so now my leaf did not pop out every piece, so I'm going to pop that out. The leaf, the best way to attach that truthfully is just to hold it in your hand and put the adhesive on with your runner. And it goes right there, okay? And then there should be another tiny, tiny little piece. Now, some people said that this was too small for them, and that's okay. You don't have to put it on. It's totally up to you. I think it would look fine without it. Again, if you find that you have lost some pieces, because I know that sometimes when you open these bags, they pop. Just letting the air out. Just let me know. Try to be as detailed as you can on what piece you're missing or you've torn or what have you. And I will send you another one. If you don't know me personally, my email address is inallsassiness@gmail.com. So I tried to make it easy for you. Okay, now comes the fun part. So we have all of these pieces. I think there's like 6. Yeah, 6. Okay, and here's my pumpkin. So you want to kind of position them however they best fit. And I would do that before adhering them down to make sure that you have the right pieces, because otherwise it's going to look kind of funky, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. But some of them definitely go better than others. I don't think that one's right. I think that one should go over here. Now, I did notice that with this piece, they tended to smear a little bit more, the adhesive. So I just figured, you know, it's kind of like a real pumpkin. It looks scratched and dented and loved from the fields. Okay. So now that I have those in place, I'm just going to attach them one at a time. And again, if they overlap a little bit, it's okay. It's just going to give them more character. This is my favorite pumpkin. I think it is from Bloom and Grace collection. I think, I could be wrong. But I made a shaker card out of this one too. I love the way the little pieces let just kind of that inside show. So we have 3. I'm kind of working my way inward because I want to do the center piece last. Whoa, and I just lost it. That way, if I need to overlap, I can overlap and it doesn't look as out of place. And you can see where my adhesive has kind of gotten on top. Once I'm done, I'll take a cloth once everything is dry. And you can kind of wipe off those fingerprints. And you can actually see where my finger caught this. I didn't have it down very tight. So we're just going to, you know what, I think we're going to go without it. Okay. So now we have our pumpkin done. We're going to flip him over and we are going to add foam tape. This is optional. You don't have to do the foam tape. I did on mine, but it's totally up to you. And you don't even need the whole thing. I mean, it's like 4 layers thick, right? So it's going to be pretty sturdy. We're going to glue him down. And he's kind of dropped a little bit below the fence. Maybe at an angle. That's totally up to you. Okay. So the final thing that we're going to do is we are going to adhere the letters October on there. Now, these were very, very hard to cut. So I apologize up front. I noticed that on some of mine, I just had to be super, super careful. I actually tore a couple of mine, and you really can't tell. My O was torn. So if it is so intricate and you tear it, when you glue it down, then you really can't tell that it's torn. I do not think I will ever use this font with glitter paper again. It was just way too tricky. And I'll probably forget. But I don't even know if I'll ever use this font again. It looks very spooky. I really like it, but it did not like the Cricut. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go up at an angle. And I have my OC. I'm doing letters. I always question myself because it always looks like it's wrong. I don't know if you guys ever have that feeling. My kids make fun of me because I use Siri all the time to spell words, and so they think I'm a horrible speller. And it's not that I'm really a horrible speller. Most of the time I have it spelled right. It just doesn't look right when you're piecing letters together. But they like to make fun of me, so I guess whatever makes their day. Okay, so we have 2 more letters. I do really like this Close to My Heart adhesive runner because it does give you a little wiggle room. So if I had gotten my letters too far up, I could simply lift them and reposition them. Now see, I just tore my R. So I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to put the attachment to it there. And that's really close to that hole. I didn't want it that close, but we're just going to have to go with it. Okay, and that's all there is. You could come back with like the black liquid onyx. That would look really cool if you wanted to add a few of those dots, those random dots that we did on the December one. That would be awesome as well. So I hope you guys like this. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. And whatever you do, make it sassy.